Okay, folks. Just a couple more deals to go through, so over to Rhett.
Hi guys. Just can you give us a show of hands? Who knows Property Filter? Amazing. Who is using Property Filter? Okay, about half. Who's never heard Property Filter before? Okay. Well, a quick word just to update you on what is it. So it's been a side gig of mine. I basically had a demo about a year ago where I was looking for a way to find deals faster for myself. I paid deal sources about £20,000 for some of my HMOs in my portfolio. So I saw the demo and I had this nightmare moment where I realized, oh crap, they need me. So I ended up working for them this last year and becoming really good at helping people to find deals. So in a nutshell, it's basically the equivalent of having 30 different data sources in one single data base, Property Filter. They built very sophisticated algorithms and AI around all that data so that you can basically find whatever kinds of deals you're looking for really quickly. There's a CRM side to it, there are comparables, there's lots of stuff. So in other words, you can try it for free if you haven't been using it. Let me know if you'd like to. So this is a deal that I happened to find the other day, and it's kind of me experimenting, thinking through what am I looking for? Because I've come to this point where I have a number of HMOs and working with JV partners, working with GIM investors as well, and trying to basically streamline things in one deal. So I came across this and packaged it up a bit, in that I call it a bit of a mega HMO, in that it's effectively 5 flats that each have 6 units in the flats with a communal kitchen and bathrooms on each floor. So my thoughts about it as a project would be to essentially redevelop all 5 of these HMOs in the same building, title split the building as well, so that, for example, if I were working with some JV partners, we could, let's say if they were 2 of us or 3 of us, you literally could play Monopoly in the building and say, this one's for you, this one's for me. Because it gets away from one of the challenges that I've faced with JVs and HMOs, which is, how do you cut an HMO in half? You can't. But you can cut a building in half. And it also means that you could do different things in different floors in the same building. So that's the idea. So they have an asking price of like 2.25 million. And I'm looking at putting in an offer maybe of, say, 1.1 million. If I look at the price and status history in Property Filter, because you have 30 different data sources that all come into one single place, we can see that they've had no offers that have been made which have been accepted. So in other words, it's just sitting there with people looking at it thinking, what do we do with that? So no competition so far. And I reckon you probably, looking through the numbers, need about £700,000 investment to acquire the building with a mortgage, a bridge, and then probably like £100,000 of contingency and fees and stuff like that. So it's very broad brush numbers, but the way I'm thinking about it, it's like doing 5 HMOs in one. And then I would expect, based on past valuations I've had in other projects, that you'd be looking at around an overall GDP of somewhere between, say, 2 million and 2.3 million. And development time frame around 18 months is what I would expect. Estimated potential profit, assuming that the numbers are correct, they take a lot more due diligence, around £127,000 of cash out on top of the money put in, and then an estimated gross income of around £20,000 a month. So I found it on Property Filter, and then just started running some numbers. And I'm curious also to get feedback from people about just your take on this kind of deal, because it's new for me. I'm looking at trying to kind of move into bigger projects, but ones that lend themselves more easily to working with people, basically. little bit about me. So, I started with property filter about a year ago, 13 months. Here is a snapshot of some of my portfolio, which is all in Derby, although I live in Brighton on the south coast. So as you can imagine, I've had to A, do a lot of travel time, and B, I've had to really systemize things with the team because I'm 4 hours away from Derby. Kind of the spec, I go for a very high-end finish. My room rates are somewhere in between around 600 to 850 per room, depending on whether they're single or double occupancy. This is an example case study where I did this project. That's a 4-story building with 8 studio units. Bought it for $2.5, had it valued at £600,000 a year later. And then currently it's had some capital appreciation, which is amazing because other people are getting high valuations around me, and it's gone up by about £100,000 in 2 years. So I wasn't expecting that, which has been interesting. Kind of the internal spec of what I was recently. So yeah, this is basically kind of headline numbers. And redevelopment costs, I think that's a little bit low. I think 500,000 a year. Actually, I think it's probably a bit more than that. But yeah, that's roughly the potential deal. And you're looking for either JV partners ideally for something like this, or potentially a GIP investor or two or three. Open to conversations about this or other deals.
Okay, thank you for that. And let's take some questions, firstly on the deal itself, and then maybe if anyone's got 1 or 2 burning questions on property filter, Rhett might just take 1 or 2 of those as well, but perhaps we could twist his arm to maybe do a webinar, a demo through, for everyone, not just here perhaps, but we'll think about that, and to answer those questions more on the property filter. So let's talk about the deal first.
What's the motivation of the seller?
Very good question. I believe retiring and looking to get out of the industry.
Okay.
What kind of building is it? Is it expo?
It's an expo, and over 3 stories, but with a kind of long side area, and then kind of the core of building as well.
So for you to make it 5, sorry I missed that bit, you're therefore extending on you 2 floors?
Well, if you can picture, it's hard to see with the floor plan, but basically on each story you have a kitchen, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 units. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 units. So you basically have 6 units per floor. There are 5 kitchens, a number of bathrooms. So I'm thinking maybe do, if you can, en-suites in more rooms to add some value. You could even theoretically in a building like this, I think, try to maybe go up a story, but then you're getting into plan.
So therefore split title and 5 different HMO licenses?
That's my thought, because it's currently HMO, so there's some tenanted rooms, so there's that to deal with, but split title, 5 HMO licenses, and therefore you've got permitted development rights per floor with the 6.
Yeah, I was going to say, because if you wanted the license for a 30-bed HMO, you're on to make a planning, but if they're 5 units and they're all 6, you can get under the wire, can't you?
That's my thinking.
If they let you.
If they let you.
Yeah.
Yep.
The 2.3 million valuation, expected valuation, what is that based on?
I've based that on GDVs that I've had from existing HMOs, but
In Sheffield?
in Derby, which personally I consider Derby to be a step down from Sheffield, despite the fact that I have my portfolio. I actually prefer Sheffield. But that's getting like around 480 to 500,000 per HMO for 6 units.
Because we operate in Sheffield and I've not seen anything like that.
Interesting.
And I know people that operate in Derby, they get much higher valuations.
Higher in Derby than in Sheffield.
Yeah. That's what I'm, again, just wonder where is that going.
Yeah, and again, this is one of the reasons why, just as an experiment, we put this out there to get people's questions. I don't have an HMO in Sheffield, so I don't have the comparables, but in my way of thinking, in principle, Sheffield should be higher. But when I went into Derby, the valuations were lower as well. So originally they were 380 to 400,000, and they were creeping up to 500,000, ever since.
Could a little bit of the discrepancy here be the fact that you do super deluxe and perhaps you shop in Woolies?
The area, just the area in general.
So sorry, Rhett, that's your expected valuation is on commercial, on rentals?
On the commercial valuations on rentals, 650 to 700 per room is what I've put in, but obviously you have to sit there and work with an agent, flesh out, how much could you get per room. I have to measure every room. I mean, so there's a lot of work that
Yeah,
needs
do
to be
your
done.
room rates off the ship, and that's just something to have a look at. Maybe if you go all on suite, but then also you can calculate a refurb value.
Yeah.
But even all on streets, you would not get more than 575 for
on-suite.
good standard, really good standard. And you can get platinum.
Someone's going to go in there. Chinese are going to go in there. Yeah, that'll be the money.
But even like I did this morning, so I was looking at this deal and I was like, okay, let me just put this out there just to see what people say.
I think this is an example of how you can find something. You can just go on Property Filter and find something. So I think there's two learnings here. There are things to find in the country and by using Property Filter, and very quickly consider a deal which may or may not work, you know.
That's it. It may not work. Like when you really dig into the numbers, maybe the numbers are too high, or too low. Fully.
Sure. And if it doesn't work, it may be that you have to offer lower than $1 million.
Right.
Can I just ask, how roughly, how big are each floor? Square foot, square meters?
There are numbers on there.
Is there a square feet? Because I'll convert it.
Because where I'm going to go to from that is, what about not going to HMO and going to flats? High-end flats?
Well, this was part of my thinking. So the high-end flats, like 4-bed flats, I have an example.
It looks like it's
Probably
big enough for-
where a single 4-bed flat was going for £260,000.
Is that, could you fit 2 of those on each floor?
Sure. Sure. It's quite big, the building. I don't have the square meters, so this is like one of those things where
Probably get the same returns.
Or could you have a mix? Because then you can flood in the market with your rooms, aren't you?
Yeah.
Or
Have a
we go
nice
for a hotel.
That's exactly what I said. I've already said that one, yeah.
But you can have 2 days flats and HMO.
it's one like apartment hotels on the ground floor and the first floor, and then they get HMOs upstairs.
Yeah, mix. It's very good, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Or even a penthouse flat on the top floor.
Basement gym.
Yeah,
You bet basement.
He's a donkey guy.
yeah.
There's got to be something going on.
Yeah.
There's something to be done.
You found projector.
The gym.
Yeah. It's interesting, there are so many like that. Those type of pubs are on corners all over the
Yeah,
place.
they're often
So what could you do? That's the secret sauce of that particular building.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I know what it is exactly, but just looking at the deal, thinking there must be some combination that we can make money.
Interesting.
very interesting. Very interesting.
Sorry, but how much of it is already running as an HMO, did you say?
From what I could get, this is what in the description it says freehold residential investment property comprised of 31 rooms, the property is split apart.
31 rooms.
31 rooms. Several currently residential up to 31 rooms.
Okay, so it's already running and licensed then?
That's it, as a single HMO. But I was just thinking because of multiple stories that it might lend itself to doing some title splitting to just.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's only 20 beds according to that.
That I believe is an error, because when you actually look at the floor plans, you can see at least 30 rooms.
Yeah, but it wouldn't have a wall, you'd have to have amenity space for 30 HMOs.
This is the interesting thing, you have amenity space on every floor.
The
It doesn't
20
have
is
to
a
be
mis-
No, I'm saying if there's 31 rooms, surely some of those have got to be amenity rooms. They can't all be bedrooms, they can't all be HMO.
Well, you have at least 6 bedrooms on each floor, and then 5 floors,
Right.
and 5 kitchens.
Okay, well, you've got the amenity space, yeah. They've got
the
space.
31 is then, the 20 is really
Yeah, yeah, and that's beds only.
So it's 5 rooms per kitchen, acceptable.
Six.
Six.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
That's fine, yeah, that's fine. So you've got the bathroom
Kitchen's
space,
big enough as
and
well.
you've got sufficient bathrooms. You need the same bathroom.
You can't sufficient, but ideally, I think the answer to it would be.
It would be fine, yeah.
If the owner just wants to be now and the funding of the HMO, why not just buy it and buy it at times? Buy it and then see how things pan out.
Buy and sell it.
Yeah, you've got to own it, you're never going to sell it. And then there should be something.
People have different tastes.
Throw an out there later then. It's a tasty one, we're all very intrigued. But again, it shows you what you can come across.
What version are you using? Well, you're not allowed to say
No, I mean, it's all transparent. I think I was just using the commercial to recipe. And then this one just happened.
I saw somebody popped up on Facebook the other day, and there was an announcement coming in 3, 2, 1, and I missed the announcement. What was the announcement? It's not been announced yet.
The property filter.
With property filter.
Oh, yeah, I saw that, good.
Well, it could be about the new direct vendor campaign. So that's something I can tell you. I've seen it. It's unbelievable. So it's a campaign management system for sending direct to vendor.
Oh, you did speak about it briefly.
Yeah. So automated. You just say add this to campaign number 1, and the letter goes from you to the vendor directly with your logo, letterhead of paper, your email address, phone number, and you just wait. Say which property you're calling. So that's on the way.
The estate agents will be happy, won't they?
What can't you talk about?
And are we sorry?
I believe there are 2 categories search under for HMOs. Can you explain the difference?
Yeah, there are 3 different templates. One is for developers that are looking for. One's for developers looking for houses conventionally to convert into HMOs. There's another template for existing HMOs in Article 4 areas.
Yeah.
And then a third template for people who like both.
And which one do you use?
I mainly use the developer one, the undercommitted developer one, but sometimes I like existing HMOs too, if you can find one to do.
See, that's the one I wasn't using by mistake, because when it said plus developer, I thought, oh, you've got to be a bloody builder or something to do with that. But if you're prepared, but I was missing out on the sort of thing that I'm actually now buying.
Yeah.
So I was wasting my time, or sort of wasting my time for a while, and I had to go on with Rhett, and I was using the wrong template. So it's easy to do if you're not quite sure how to use it.
If you don't use that one, you always get small as well.
Correct.
I always check on right. Always sometimes check on Rightmove as well. Just once in a while, always just check in because there'll be stuff that you missed on your filters. And I've seen stuff. I was like, oh, I can't believe I didn't see this one. How come this one? And you look at it, could be something on the listing that they've put in that doesn't trigger the algorithm. So always check on Rightmove. Or just a little tip.
Your questions, Raj?
Feel free to decline to answer this question. But why is property filter better than property data?
It's actually one of my favorite questions.
Please answer
I would say that right. It's basically, if you think about what was happening before property filter, basically we were all scrolling. So in other words, you'd scroll on Rightmove, you scroll on Zoopla. They've studied it in terms of even physically what we're doing. We're basically doing that to get a dopamine hit to some extent, because it's like, look, I found a garage in Sheffield. Look, how cool. And the problem is often we weren't finding what we really wanted to find. So property data is an add-on on top of the portal experience. Property filter is taking all of the data, putting it in one place, and then you've got sophisticated algorithms analyzing the data. So you've got things like comparables. If an agent says, oh, there's been lots of interest in that property, because you've been able to pull data from 30 different data sources, you can tell actually there's been no interest in that property. And they move on. So literally you can catch people out in terms of what they're saying, what they're not saying. It's just a whole nother layer of data analysis. It's not that we don't have enough data. We're overwhelmed by data. What we don't have is a quick way of finding a deal in 5 minutes. And this was an example of just like, oh, I wonder if I can see today. Just like that was a deal.
Thank you.
Anything else? Great, thanks. Thanks very much. Thank you. We've got one more deal to look at.